We are going to define, describe, and support intellectual disabilities. By the end of this presentation, you will have an understanding of what intellectual disabilities are, the characteristics, and how to account for such disabilities in the classroom. According to the American Association on Intellectual Disability, intellectual disabilities are defined as a disability that originates before the age of 18, characterized by significant limitations in both intellectual functioning and in adaptive behavior, which covers many everyday social and practical skills. So, this disability is defined by restricted intellectual functioning and adaptive behavior. But what exactly is intellectual functioning? Simply put, intellectual functioning is just intelligence. Intelligence is a very broad and encompassing topic. It is anything from comprehension to problem solving. It is the capacity to not only obtain knowledge and skills, but to apply them. Intellectual functioning is measured using IQ tests. An IQ score of 70 to 75 is an indicator for intellectual disabilities. Adaptive behavior, on the other hand, is the ability to apply and acquire life skills. More specifically, according to the AAIDD, adaptive behavior is a collection of conceptual, social, and empirical skills that are acquired and carried out by people in their everyday life. And conceptual skills include language and literacy, money, time, and number concepts, and self-direction. While social skills include interpersonal skills, social responsibility, self-esteem, gullibility, social problem solving, and the ability to follow rules, obey laws, and to avoid being victimized. Lastly, practical skills include activities of daily living, occupational skills, healthcare, travel and transportation, schedules and routines, safety, use of money, and the use of the telephone. Adaptive behavior can also be measured using standardized tests. Lastly, as discussed in the definition, the age of onset is during the developmental period, which is defined as before the age of 18 by the United States.
Characteristics of individuals with intellectual disability. Common learning and behaviors of a person with intellectual disabilities, or ID, can include attention deficits, difficulty with memory, weak academic performance, trouble generalizing knowledge, difficulties with language development, lack of motivation, and they may also exhibit poor social development. Attention deficits, or difficulty focusing and remaining focused on a task. They may have difficulty ignoring outside stimuli and can be easily distracted. Memory impairment is common in people with intellectual disability. Long-term memory retrieval, for instance, recalling a telephone number, is usually similar to that of peers without an ID. But a student with intellectual disabilities may have problems with short-term memory, such as recalling directions in sequence that were presented moments or even seconds earlier. Another deficiency may be the student's working memory, which is the ability to retain information while also engaging in another cognitive activity. An example being recalling an address while listening to directions. Academically, students with ID usually encounter difficulties. Deficits may be seen in all subjects, but reading comprehension, and problem solving and arithmetic stand out as the weakest. Teachers should be aware that most individuals with intellectual disabilities have difficulty transferring or generalizing. For example, a student may be able to count change from a purchase in the school cafeteria, but have difficulty with the same task at Target. Speech disorders are also common. This may include errors of articulation, fluency disorders such as stuttering, and voice disorders such as hypernasal speech or concerns about loudness. Speech development occurs more slowly and their vocabulary is often limited. Students with intellectual disabilities seem to be less goal-oriented and lacking in motivation. They are more likely to exhibit an external locus of control, which is a belief that the consequences or outcomes of a person's actions are the results of circumstances and situations beyond one's control, rather than one's own efforts. Repeated failures can result in learned helplessness, where the student believes that no matter how hard that they try, that the failure is inevitable. Learned helplessness can develop into a condition known as outer directedness, where the student's loss of confidence and trust in their own abilities causes them to rely on others for cues and guidance.